Ayman Khan here, 4 seconds out with a busy as ever Eddie Hearn. You've done the book, you've done the football debut, another book is on the way. What's the next venture?
Who knows? A film, maybe an album. I mean, anything's possible. Anything is possible in this world.
What's the details of the next book?
Oh, that would be telling. Something more boxing based.
Interesting. Well, let's get into the
Yeah.
boxing-based talk. I asked you yesterday at the presser about being the first UK boxing promoter beating your rivals to the punch at promoting at the Co-op Live. What was the word on other promoters trying to win that race, and how close a race was it?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's a nice string to the bow. I don't, I like to spin the truth sometimes, but I can't tell you that, there was a pool of 8 people all going for that day. But obviously, everyone is having conversations with the Co-op Live. It's the biggest arena in Europe. And I just felt there was a bit of a coup to stage the first boxing event there. That sat well within our schedule. Luckily for us, Prograis against Catterall came available. And after Jack's momentum from the Josh Taylor fight, we felt that was, a great fight to bring to Manchester. And having been there yesterday, like yourself, it's pretty impressive place, really. I was actually thinking that since I started promoting, I can't remember that many venues. I mean, the O2 had just begun, really, with sporting events when I started promoting boxing. And we held Froch Kessler there quite early in the O2's kind of build. And then really with Leeds, I think beyond that, I don't really remember many new venues open. And this is a great, obviously, city to bring a major venue to. But historically, for the bigger fights, we expect probably around 10,000 for Catterall against Prograis. But for the bigger fights, you've got the O2 and Manchester Arena, 16 and 19,000. But this just gives you another option for those big British fights. And obviously an increased capacity as well. So looking forward to the partnership. And this group, they're major players. We do a lot of business with them around the world. Footprint Centre, they own, where we had Bam against Estrada last week. They've got Wells Fargo in Philadelphia, where we're next week with Boots. So, they're major players.
Who stands to be on the undercard right now? I believe you got one announced fight as well as William Collar featuring on there.
Yeah, we're gonna announce the full card on Monday. I want a great card. I want 4 or 5 real competitive fights. I mean, I know we've got Rhiannon against Terry, World Championship fight as well. It's a great fight, very competitive, a big domestic fight. But there's going to be quite a few championship fights on the card, a lot of young prospects as well. And we must make sure that top to bottom it's a stellar card for the big crowning night of boxing at the Co-op Live.
Turning our attention quickly to this weekend, I saw that face-off between Johnny Fisher and Alan Babich, and Johnny didn't want to engage in that headbutt kind of thing. Right move, do you think?
Yeah, I think the problem is with Johnny, he's such a nice bloke, isn't he? I mean, and Alan is as well, in all reality. I mean, I think Alan is doing his best to unsettle Johnny. And it's a pretty big moment for him, really, if you think about it. Like, he's, a guy who's been boxing on undercards. We know he's a massive ticket seller. And all of a sudden, he's doing 6,000 or 7,000 headlining at the Copper Box. And it's a big step up, real big step up. But I think he's ready for it. I think the reality is, what type of fight it's going to be. Alan Babich is going to do what Alan Babich always does, which is just come out and trade and put you under pressure and put you on the back foot. And as much as Johnny will try and stay composed during that period, I actually don't think he will. I think he'll trade with him. And it's very dangerous. But I like Johnny's chances when he trades because he's a big puncher. He's got a great chin. He's got fast hands. And I think he stops Alan Babich early, actually, on Saturday. But if the fight goes past 3 or 4 rounds, it starts to become a real problem because Alan's got a great engine. He just doesn't stop backing you up.
Keeping with the heavyweight theme, I wonder if you saw my recent conversation, contentious points as always with Thomas Hauser. He said that the fans or people within the industry shouldn't recognize the winner of Joshua versus Dubois or Dubois right now as the champion, call him a paper champion. Do you understand where he's coming from?
Thomas Hauser definitely wins the award. I mean, when people talk about giving out belts and being recognised, Thomas Hauser should definitely be recognised as the most bitter man in boxing. I mean, this is a guy who 2 years ago said AJ should retire because of potential brain damage, that he may be in. I don't know him and I haven't spoken to him, but I've just got this feeling. It's like, mate, do yourself a favour, go on holiday, leave the sport and have a kip, because your time's up, right? I mean, it's just, he's such a hater, and he's got this, he's never really apologized. Now Anthony Joshua comes into this unbelievable form, right? The greatest form of his career so far. And Hauser don't even have the nous to say, you know what, I was actually wrong about that article. It was actually a terrible article. It's unbelievably disrespectful to Anthony Joshua. I got it completely wrong. He just tries to make himself relevant now. Like, who wants to talk to Thomas Hauser? Honestly, like, beyond you guys, no one. Boxing is a changing sport, and that his negativity, his pessimism, and his distorted views of certain individuals, that he just seems to have this thing in his mind, needs to evaporate from the sport of boxing. Anthony Joshua, Daniel Dubois, the IBF championship, the mandatory's been due for over a year. Like, there's been 2 fights where that mandatory was due and the IBF let slip. They weren't prepared to do it anymore. When that belt becomes vacant, Daniel Dubois, who beat the mandatory, who beat the guy that's been at #1 for like 2 years, he deserves a shot at the title. AJ is the next ranked fighter. So, yeah, that's my views on your mate, Thomas Hauser.
Not my mate, just a good conversation to have with Thomas. The other point he did raise, though, is that, look, if the Saudis really wanted and pushed for it, he could have clunked yours and Warren's heads together and said, look, I don't want to do business with you guys if you go forward with pushing for that IBF title to be stripped off of Usyk. Was that ever a conversation that was had between yourself and the Saudis?
I mean, Thomas Hauser, absolutely so far off the pace. The Saudis were involved in the whole process. It's their show. They were the ones that spoke to Usyk collectively with us to have a conversation. Usyk, spoke to His Excellency. His Excellency said, if the IBF mandatory is due, then fair enough. We would like it on the line for Joshua against Dubois. There was no pushback from the Saudis. There wasn't even any pushback from Usyk or Fury, because they knew going into the first fight there was no way out. It's the rules.
Just lost you in full flow. You were saying that it's the rules, and the Saudis weren't giving any pushback.
Yeah, I mean, everybody was involved in the conversations. There was no pushback from the Saudis for the IBF title to be on the line. In fact, they knew the situation, and Usyk, Fury, ourselves, there was no pushback from anyone. His Excellency was happy because he knew the order from the IBF for the IBF title to be on the line at Wembley. And that's it. So again, absolute nonsense from Thomas Hauser that knows absolutely nothing about the situation at all.
Onto something a little bit lighter then, though. There's been these back and forth between Carl Froch and Anthony Joshua. I just wondered, is it a concern for you that AJ is focusing quite a bit on Froch with Dubois on the horizon?
No, honestly, AJ has absolutely no focus on Froch whatsoever. I don't think, look, clearly at the moment they don't particularly like each other. I don't like it myself, because they're 2 people that I'm very fond of. 2 great British fighters. I mean, 2 legends of British boxing. But it just needs, obviously, Carl now is almost like a member of the media, really, in the respect of he's got his own media platform, YouTube platform, so he has to create views and narrative, and he's very stubborn, Carl. It's one of his greatest assets as a fighter, but he's not really, he won't change his mind. Do you know what I mean? So hopefully it can just blow over and we can get back on. And those guys they don't have to like each other, but they should respect each other in terms of both of their achievements, really.
What's with the videos of AJ sending Carl the videos of him flaunting his cash, though?
I don't believe that's, I don't know. I don't think that's from him sending them to him direct, is it? I don't know. I think that was pulled off a Snapchat video back many years ago. Yeah. Okay. I think that was an example that Carl was using, but not a message to Carl Froch, I don't believe.
Well, back to the fight for AJ Dubois. Can you confirm the pay-per-view price? Is it at £20?
Not yet. No, that'll be announced by Riyadh Season and His Excellency, who, making the decisions around the show commercially, and that'll be announced in due course.
Can you confirm if there's a rematch clause involved?
No, I can't confirm that.
Can you confirm if it would be likely that if AJ was to lose, there would be a second fight?
No. Well, what I can tell you is that there is no. The Saudis will have an option, in terms of AJ's next fight. I think that's the best explanation. So, in answer to your question, if AJ loses, he may not fight Daniel Dubois again.
Is there less significance now if AJ loses? Look, usually people call for AJ to retire when he loses, but with the Saudis involved and how swift, appealing matchups are made, if AJ does lose, is it less significant for him to have that rematch, or just him losing in general doesn't?
I think that the aim for AJ is to become world heavyweight champion again. But at the same time, if you lose to Daniel Dubois, yeah, of course he would like another crack at that fight, because it would be again for the world heavyweight title. But maybe His Excellency would want him to fight Tyson Fury. Maybe he'd want Dubois to fight Tyson. I mean, the mix at the moment in the heavyweight division means that any fights, in that mix are possible. So you don't really want to lose the fight because he wants to become world heavyweight champion. But if he did, there would be multiple options for him. But sole focus, obviously, is for victory against Dubois.
Have you seen my colleague Danny Flexen's interview with Stan Dubois, Daniel's father? And what are your thoughts on his relationship right now, which has seen him be more prominent in the corner, which seems to bring him success right now?
Yeah, I mean, I've been around Daniel's last two fights, ringside, and his dad, I'll say his dad won him the fight, but without his dad, I don't believe he would have won either fight. He clearly looks to him when he's lost or his confidence is low. He gives him a kick up the arse. And Stan done a great job, particularly in the Jarrell Miller fight. And Frank Warren might be looking for a way out, and then he actually ended up replacing a corner man in the Hrgovic fight. And Frank said again, "Get in the corner," and you've got some good corner men in the team, Don Charles and Kieran Farrell, but clearly, I don't know Daniel personally, but his relationship with his father, need in a ring, which could be a weakness. But then when his father comes in, maybe that's a show of strength when they're together. So yeah, don't take too much for him, but I definitely expect him to have a presence on September 21st.
What's AJ's dad like, and is there any similarities with Stan Dubois at all?
No, I mean, AJ's dad doesn't become overly involved in the career. I mean, you're never going to see him in the corner shouting tactics and trying to build him with confidence, because AJ doesn't need it. He's full of confidence. He's been around. He knows exactly what he's doing. But he's at the fights. His father, and he's obviously a huge fan of his son, and gets very emotional as well. And he's always there to support AJ.
There's one point you and him were at loggerheads, weren't it? Was it after the Ruiz fight?
Yeah, just emotional times, really. I think for everybody, got in the ring and didn't know what had happened, and there was a lot of emotion, and we hugged it out after, and he won the rematch, and we hugged it out again. And I think that when it's your son, to see your son lose like that must be very difficult emotionally to handle.
Eddie, moving on, I just wonder if you saw the clip of Fury being pulled into the Hen Party. A lot of people have their say about Fury's status right now, but was that just a bit of fun?
What do you mean?
Fury being pulled into that Hen Party. I don't know if you saw that video.
Yeah, I mean, he was at an airport and a group of people asked him for a photo.
I just saw some of the comments.
Can't do anything right, can you? He's at an airport or a train station traveling back somewhere. Some people have asked him for a photo, and he's out. He's giving people his time. So I guess you can't win either way.
I agree with you. Moving on, Canelo versus Banga. Or Charlo potentially. If it's Banga, are you involved?
Yeah, of course. Belanga's under contract with Matchroom. I mean, we've had some very, very preliminary conversations about it. Nothing too much, but yeah, Banga is under contract to Matchroom. He's out fighting. We'd love to be involved in the event. I think it's a massive fight. I said to His Excellency the other day, You know, if there is any involvement from Riyadh season and yourself, that's a huge fight. Mexico against Puerto Rico. And in Edgar, you've got someone that's fresh, undefeated and ready. Not someone that's been inactive for over a year, not someone that don't really want to be in the game. You've got someone, blood, sweat and tears, will put everything into that fight and he'll make it very exciting. So hopefully Edgar gets the pick for Canelo next.
Shakur Stevenson stands to be a free agent after this fight with Harutunian. Any conversations with Shakur?
His team have been on to say that we'll chat after this fight. I mean, you know, I've made it very clear. I think that Shakur is pound for pound one of the best fighters in the sport. I don't feel that he's been promoted fantastically, and I think that Bob, and I don't blame Bob for this, by the way. When a fighter says I'm leaving, you kind of you're not going to make him a priority, and then it becomes double-edged sword, because it's like you're not going to promote him. He's on a lot of money as it is. You're not going to hit the numbers on ESPN. You're not going to drive tickets at the gate because you're just not pushing him, because you probably don't like him anymore. It's the truth. So Shakur's a fantastic fighter. Listen, we'd love to welcome him to the Matchroom team. You know, we've got Bam Rodriguez, pound for pound number 5. We've got Bivol, I think we'll see pound for pound number 6 or 7. I believe Jaron Ennis will be in the pound for pound list very soon, and I think Shakur Stevenson as well is a must for the pound for pound top 5 over the next 12 months.
A couple of final quick things from myself, and I'll let you crack on with the rest of your day. Did you see Ryan Garcia's father pleading, saying he feels his son needs therapy?
Yeah, look, it's really none of my business. I get asked a lot of the time, but I was pleased to see that, because Ryan does need help. And it's good that people around him are recognising that. Everybody knows, really, within boxing, and you don't have to be an expert to know that he definitely needs some help, and hopefully he can find it.
You know how you opened up the press conference to the media yesterday? Did you see they did the same thing at Diaz Masvidal presser, and this Twitch streamer called Neon, he got to ask a question and it wasn't well received, and he ended up being chased out the arena, pleading that he was sorry to ask Nate Diaz if he was going to get knocked out.
No, I mean, I spoke to Ariel the other day. I was on his show, and he said that he finds a lot of the boxing press conferences quite boring.
Right.
And I actually agree with him. And I think we just got to keep evolving and switching it up. And I think that should come from questions from you guys, questions from fans if they're there. I'm actually going to start flipping and starting with the main event.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Because I think sometimes you can go through the whole card. It goes on for like 40 minutes, and then you get to the main event and everyone's a little bit disengaged. So today I'm going to go top down and just ask the media, and I'm going to say, Dan and Matty Lawless will say to the media, get your questions ready, because we want you guys to interact. I like running the press conferences, but I shouldn't have to ask every question. That should come from the stream, which we're doing from as well. So the public can ask questions, you guys can ask questions, and just trying to switch it up a little bit.
And lastly, for myself, I wonder if you saw the promotion for the KSI 2 versus 1 fight. It was very different in the sense that Kala wasn't there, Mams wasn't there, KSI didn't seem that he wanted to be there. The promotion seemed just a little bit off. Have you ever had a fighter who seemingly didn't want to be in the fight that they were in?
I haven't seen the presser, but I don't know. Sometimes I feel like with those things, you're pushing so hard that it doesn't really click. Do you know what I mean? I don't know, but it's gone very WWE, which is okay. That's on brand for what they're doing. I don't think they're trying to be anything else. But Misfits is, conceptually, I think it's very impressive, and it's just hard to keep driving these events. And obviously, KSI is the guy you need to be pushing everything, because his fights are the ones that really deliver.
Ed, that's everything from me. Appreciate your time. Thanks for being Seconds Out, sir.
Cheers, mate. Speak soon.